5 Stratocaster model brands everyone ignores, but they're gold mines. This guitar costs a third of the price of the one next to it in the store, and plays just as well. We combed through independent reviews, forum threads from players who've owned dozens of guitars, and comparisons against Fender's own lineup. What we found, some of the best Stratocaster-style guitars ever built are sitting on shelves right now, ignored because most players only recognize one logo. These are 5 brands that outplay their price tag. Let's expose them. Number 5. Vintage Guitars, the V6 Icon series. This one comes out of the UK, designed by Trev Wilkinson, and it barely registers with North American players because it simply isn't marketed here the way Squier or Fender are. The price sits around £300 to £330. That's roughly half of what a Fender Player Series Stratocaster costs. Half. But here's what the marketing never tells you when you compare it side by side. Wilkinson designed Alnico 5 pickups, a Wilkinson vibrato bridge that reviewers single out for tuning stability, and hardware that punches well above its price class. One reviewer who spent years chasing a V6 Icon on the used market said it needed 0 adjustment out of the box, a rare experience even on guitars costing twice as much. A Premier Guitar write-up on this same model noted the action was already dialed in perfectly at delivery. And in a direct hands-on comparison against the Fender Player line, one reviewer said flatly that Fender's products increasingly feel like they lack value next to what smaller companies are doing at this price point. The catch. Vintage guitars aren't always easy to find in North American stores, so most players never even get the chance to try one. That's not a flaw in the guitar. That's a gap in your local shop's ordering habits. And it's exactly why this brand gets ignored. But the next brand hides its credibility somewhere almost nobody thinks to look. It's not a guitar company most players even associate with guitars at first. Stay with me. Number 4. Sire, the Larry Carlton S7. Sire built its early reputation on bass guitars, and that's exactly why most guitarists scroll right past this brand without a second look. But the S7 carries the name of a genuine jazz and session legend, Larry Carlton, engineered with his direct input. Price point? Roughly $400 to $500 depending on the finish. Here's where it gets interesting. A side-by-side breakdown from Find My Guitar, comparing the Sire S7 against the Fender Player Stratocaster, found the Sire scoring dramatically higher across an entire checklist built for beginner and intermediate playability, covering neck profile, fret type, and bridge design. That's not a marketing claim, that's a spec-by-spec teardown. On forums, longtime Strat players who were skeptical going in kept coming back to the same point. Larry Carlton has built a career and a reputation most guitarists would envy, and it's hard to believe he'd attach his name to something mediocre. The tone leans warmer than a standard Strat, thanks to the pickup voicing, a character that fingerstyle and jazz-leaning players have gravitated toward. Is Sire a fly-by-night brand, like some skeptics online claim? Sire has been manufacturing instruments for over a decade and has built genuine distribution. The real issue is perception. Most players hear Sire and assume budget bass company, not a guitar engineered alongside one of the most respected names in the instrument's history. But the next brand is where the story gets genuinely surprising, because this one wasn't designed by a fan of the Stratocaster. It was designed by the man who invented it. Before we get there, take a second to like and subscribe. It genuinely helps put this in front of players who are stuck choosing between an overpriced beginner Strat and a guitar they've simply never heard of. Let's keep going. Number 3. G&L, specifically the Legacy and Tribute Legacy models. Here's a fact most casual guitar shoppers don't know. Leo Fender, the man who designed the original Stratocaster, didn't stop innovating after he sold his company. He went on to found G&L, and the Legacy is effectively his final word on the Stratocaster formula, refined with decades of hindsight. This is not a copy, it's the original designer's own second draft. The Tribute Legacy, built overseas, runs somewhere in the $700 to $900 range. But here's what most buyers never realize. Multiple longtime owners on guitar forums describe it as functionally equivalent to a Fender custom shop instrument, at roughly a third of the price. One detailed breakdown of the Tribute Legacy highlighted the tight neck pocket, the impeccably leveled frets, and a neck taper reminiscent of guitars from the early 1960s, before Fender's design changed hands repeatedly. The dual fulcrum vibrato, another Leo Fender design exclusive to G&L, is repeatedly singled out by players as more stable than a standard Fender-style trem, letting you use the whammy bar aggressively without the tuning collapsing on you. A form comparison from a 50-year Fender loyalist put it plainly: the import tribute models are considered by many longtime owners to outperform Fender's own Mexican-made lineup, and some players say they've simply switched allegiance entirely after years of ownership. The reason G&L gets ignored isn't quality, it's branding. There's no Fender on the headstock, so casual buyers walk right past the guitar Leo Fender himself considered his most refined design. If branding can bury a design this good, imagine what it does to a company most guitarists have never even connected to guitars in the first place. This next one flies almost completely under the radar. Keep watching. Number 2. Exotique, the California Classic XSC-1. This is where we shift into boutique territory, and where the word ignored starts to feel almost absurd once you understand what's happening here. Exotic is better known among pedal players for its overdrive and compressor boxes, so most guitarists have no idea the company also hand-builds full Stratocaster-style instruments in California. The XSC-1 uses roasted flame maple necks, hand-wound raw vintage pickups, and a build process so detailed that a reviewer at Guitar.com directly compared it to a Fender Custom Shop reference instrument and found the Exotic noticeably smoother across the board, with a tone control on the bridge pickup, adding a versatility the vintage design never had. Vintage Guitar Magazine's review went further, calling the tone shockingly refined for the price, capable of that classic percussive, funky Strat voice, without any of the quirks that plague genuinely old 1960s instruments. Multiple owners reselling their Exotic guitars used almost identical language independently of each other, calling it the best classic-style Strat they'd ever personally handled. And yet, ask the average shopper walking into a store if they've heard of Exotic, and most will say no. That's not a reflection of quality, it's a reflection of marketing budgets. Exotic doesn't have Fender's retail presence, so this guitar simply never crosses paths with 90% of Strat buyers. And that brings us to the guitar that surprised even us the most, sitting quietly at the top of what most players will ever consider spending. Before we get into it, if you've made it this far, do us a favor and hit like and subscribe. You've already gotten 4 legitimate recommendations out of this video for free, so if it's been useful, that's the easiest way to say thanks. Now, the one everyone's been waiting for. Number 1, Suhr, the Classic S. If you've spent any time around working session musicians, touring techs, or high-level gear forums, the name Suhr comes up constantly, almost reverently. But walk into a typical guitar store and ask a salesperson about it, and you'll likely get a blank stare. That disconnect is the entire story here. The Classic S is built with stainless steel frets that essentially never wear down, a compound radius fingerboard, and Suhr's proprietary low-noise single coils that replicate true vintage single-coil tone without the 60-cycle hum that's plagued every Stratocaster since 1954. One in-depth video review called it the best American Super Strat available today. Full stop, no qualifiers. A separate long-form user review said outright that people shouldn't have to spend this much to get a Stratocaster with genuinely modern build standards, and pointed out that if a comparatively small operation like Suhr can hit this level of quality and consistency, there's no excuse for the bigger manufacturers not doing the same at a lower price. Every single Classic S reportedly goes through the identical individual setup process used on Suhr's $10,000 to $15,000 custom shop builds, an almost unheard of level of quality control trickling down to what is, relatively speaking, Suhr's entry point. Working guitarists on forums describe the brand in similar terms again and again. All business, every part of the build, clearly designed around what a player actually needs, not what looks flashy on a wall display. The reason this guitar is ignored isn't subtle. It's price combined with obscurity. It costs more than a Fender American Professional, so casual buyers assume it must be some kind of niche novelty, rather than what touring professionals quietly consider one of the smartest investments in the Strat-style category. So here's the pattern running through all 5 of these. Vintage guitars proves you can get half the price of a Fender Player Series with hardware that outperforms it. Sire proves that a name attached with real credibility from an actual legend can outspec the guitar sitting right next to it in the store. G&L proves that the original designer's own refinements get overlooked simply because his name isn't stitched into pop culture the way Fender's is. Zodic proves that boutique-level build quality can't exist without boutique-level brand recognition. And Sewer proves that the guitars serious professionals actually reach for are frequently the ones the average buyer has never once heard mentioned in a store. None of this means Fender makes a bad guitar. It doesn't. But Fender's marketing budget is the reason their name is the default answer when someone says the word Stratocaster, not proof that it's the only correct answer. Every guitar on this list was chosen off real independent testing and real owners who've put hundreds of hours into these instruments, not sponsored content. If your budget is under $500, start with the vintage V6 Icon or the Sire S7. If you're in the $700 to $1,500 range and want genuine design pedigree, look hard at G&L. And if you've got the budget to go boutique, Zodic and Sewer are the two names the pros keep circling back to, even if nobody at your local shop has ever said them out loud. The best Stratocaster for you might not be the one with the biggest logo. It might be the one you've never heard of, sitting quietly in the used section, completely ignored, waiting for someone to actually plug it in. And if 5 ignored Strat brands surprised you, wait until you see what we found digging into the most overpriced guitar accessories on the market. The ones stores mark up 300% and hope you never ask why. That breakdown is coming soon. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. Stay curious, stay skeptical, stay playing.